Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Partner Showcase. My name is Jim Sullivan, and I am the Director of Social Enterprise here at APH, filling in today for Amanda Dennis, who is out in California at a conference. We'd like to welcome you here to the webinar that we're going to put on today called TactileView Drawing Software. Now you can create high-quality tactile graphics with ease. And as soon as I can find the poll, I'm going to launch it. But right now it's not showing up on my screen. So you'll have to bear with me for a second. Peter, can you improvise for a few seconds as I try to figure out where
I
exactly the
can. So
poll
I was
is?
thinking about what we could do if something like this happened, and I was going to create obscure references to hold music that I've heard in the past. And there's one particular song that is played with a very soft drum beat. Really doesn't make you feel like it's a Wednesday afternoon. It really feels more like this is a morning webinar, which it isn't. So next time we do one of these, I will come prepared with bed music. And just like that, the poll is launched. Sully, what is the poll question?
Well, the bonus poll question today would be, have you ever used or do you use the Tactile View software to create tactile graphics? So of course we want to know where you're from. We'd like to know how you heard about the webinar today, and we'd like to know who's with us. So as you guys are answering those polls, I'll just quickly do the ground rules and then I'll kick it over to Jordan. So we ask that throughout the course of your time with us, that you drop questions that you have into the chat. Myself, Andrew, Peter, and Jordan will answer those throughout the course of the presentation. This is a showcase, so there are no ACVREP credits today, and closed captioning is available. And so with that, we'll give you guys a few more minutes to answer the poll question, and I am going to stop sharing my screen. Jordan, if you want to go ahead and share your screen, you'd like to introduce yourself and then introduce Andy and Peter. We can review the poll after you guys get done doing your introductions.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Robinson. I am one of the product specialists here at APH. My specialty currently is our Braille tech and some of our other Braille and science materials. I do have a background in Braille transcription and have used TactileView myself quite a few times in that job. So we are partnering today with HumanWare, and we have Andrew Flatris and Peter Tusick here today. Andrew, can you introduce yourself?
Sure, thanks, Jordan. So my name's Andrew Flatchus. I am the Braille product manager at HumeWare. I've been with HumeWare for over 22 years, and as product manager, my responsibilities include looking after existing Braille products, from Braille displays to note taker, and of course, embossers and our newly kind of add-on, which is TactileView.
Thank you. And Peter, can you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. So my name is Peter Tusick. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships at HumanWare. I've been with HumanWare about 10 years now and work primarily with our blindness products, working with running our product specialist team and working closely with Andrew and the product management team, along with our partners like the American Printing House.
Wonderful. Thank you guys for joining us today and helping us with this webinar. Alrighty. So what is TactileView? Oh yes, let's go over the poll.
Sure. All right. So I'll just kind of go over quickly. It looks like the majority of you are teachers of the visually impaired. We do have a few O&M and specialists and some assistive technology specialists that are out there. About 38% of you are other. And when we look at where you're from, it looks like we've got a good mix of folks from the Southeast, the Northwest, the Southwest, the Midwest, and then a few folks from the Northeast. And then we have a few friends from Canada and other. Most of you have heard about the webinar through email, a few of you from the website, so that's great. And then finally, have you ever used the TactileView software? And it is almost a 50-50 split between yes and no. 44% of you have used, and 56% of you have not. So we'll stop sharing and kick it back to you, Jordan.
Wonderful. So what is TactileView? TactileView is a wonderful tactile graphic software that is intuitive and is great for creating graphics for blind and low vision users. Classroom materials, maps, graphs, just about anything you can think of, you can create using TactileView, and we'll see some of those things today. Let's see. All right, some of the features of TactileView. There's an accessible interface, which I believe this is the only accessible tactile graphic software fully integrated, so it can be used with a screen reader, which I want to say, Peter, will you be talking about that today?
I sure will. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a
Wonderful.
good time.
There is a number of versatile, design tools, creating lines, creating squiggles, creating dots, just about everything you can think of, shapes, and image conversion, which is personally what I use most often. TactileView does come with a couple of portals that you can use. They have their own catalogs similar to the APH TGIL. And they also have a map creation portal, which Andrew will be going over later in one of our demos. This is great for any of those STEM topics that, as we all know in this field, can be quite difficult to create and make accessible to our students. It can be used offline, which is amazing. It is not a web-based program. It supports most of the embossers, if not all of the embossers out there on the market. You can use it with multiple languages, and the demo mode is one of the best I have personally ever seen. You can use all the features while using demo mode. You are unable to save those files, and when you emboss it, it will be watermarked. But it's a great chance to practice and really get a feel for the software before you decide to purchase it or purchase a page flasher that it comes with. It does support a number of importing files and such as JPEG, SVGs, PNGs. You can see them on the screen. GIFs, TIFFs. You can copy and paste, and then of course its native file type, which is BCP. You can also export it as a JPEG, a PNG, or a bitmap file, which is super helpful when using it.
So Jordan,
Yeah,
it seems like it'd be useful to export those if you're using some sort of tactile image type machine, like a pictures in flash type product where you can
correct.
print and then print to the Swell Touch paper and then run through the Swell Touch machine.
Correct.
Great.
Alrighty. And the users of TactileView can really be anyone, but TVIs, transcribers, O&M specialists. It's really great for creating maps and navigational tools for the students. Production centers, publishers, students can use it themselves to be able to create art and whatever they'd like. And like I said, anyone can use this software. It's intuitive, and it's just, I love this software. So I'm really happy that APH offers it with our page blaster now. And with that, Peter, I'm going to give you a little bit extra time to start your demo, and I'm going to stop sharing.
Sounds great. And thank you so much, Jordan. And before we get going, Sully, I believe, is going to launch a question before I start screen share. Sully, do you want to read what that is? I will read it.
I was going to say, I'll read it for you, or you
It's
can.
all right.
All right.
The question is going to be revolving around a Braille translator built into TactileView. So does TactileView have an inbuilt Braille translator? True or false? And we'll give you guys some time to answer that. While we do that, I am going to share my screen, and I'm also going to be sharing the sound of JAWS, the screen reader, so that you can hear along with me as I do this demo of putting a couple of objects onto a TactileView screen. So, going to share, and what I will do is make sure the screen reader is here. All right. And so
Peter, as you get going, 79% of the participants said true and 21% said false. So I'm sure you're going to get to the answer to that question throughout your your overview. All right.
Excellent. So sorry, the poll kicked me out of my screen share, but I'm going to do this here and we're going to share sound and we'll be good to go. So at this point, you should hear my screen reader. And if you can't, Sully, if you can confirm that, I think you're good. Now, what I'm going to do, we're going to be in a blank sort of tactile view canvas. And what I want to look at are three things. So we are going to add an object. We are going to edit an existing label. And then we're going to add a new text label. And again, I'm going to do this all as a screen reader user. What's very important here is you do have to have just an understanding of your page parameters because you do have to imagine what you're doing, right? You can't just put a square on a piece of paper without envisioning where that square is going to go. So you do have to have kind of some spatial awareness that will come into play as you start to build your tactile graphic. In doing so, though, a screen reader user, and certainly you may have to, emboss a few pages to check your work, and that's something ultimately we'll work on with a better sort of real-time solution, but you will at times find yourself, maybe forgetting exactly how many inches away from, your triangle a certain braille label should be, and maybe you've made it a little bit too high, and it's very easy to fix, but you may have to emboss that to actually kind of double or triple check what you're doing. What I'm going to do, I'm in a blank tactile view window.
Screen sharing meeting in tactile view 1.
And at this point, I'm going to bring us into our list of objects. When you first start tactile view, you're always, I'm in a new blank sort of graphic, and there is one object that currently exists, and that is my title. And so to get into your list of objects, there is a shortcut to do this. And I like to think of the word list because to activate what is called menu-driven design, you can press a shortcut that is Control with the letter L. Now, we'll get into the menu bar in a moment, but I'm going to quickly bring us in there with this shortcut, and then we'll talk about kind of navigating the menu bar and how we find it. But if I press Control L,
list of labels and objects, dialog. After selection of a label or object, the corresponding context menu can be opened to edit the properties. Total design, size, 8.14 x 10.47 inch, 1.00 x 1.00 pages, by equals.
All right, you're going to hear lots of information. What you heard, though, is that I've entered this menu-driven design where my objects that are currently present will be shown in a list, and I can filter or sort how that list is laid out. I can also, I hear that my current page size is set to 11 by 11, and you heard it, or 8 by 11, depending on the paper size I'm working with. And you can adjust this in your menus because, again, Tactile View is compatible with pretty much any embosser that is out there today, ranging from Tiger to our own, the View Plus embossers, to our own Humanware enabling embossers, to the Page Blasters, to all of these things. The TactileView software is compatible, and certainly you need to set your paper size so that the images or the tactile graphics you're creating will fit appropriately on that paper size. You heard my dimensions listed. I'm going to press the tab key, though.
List ordered in object number radio button check.
And you have a list of radio buttons here where you can control how you would like your object list laid out. Now, right now, I only have one object, so it doesn't really matter how I have this list laid out, but there are multiple options. If I up or down arrow here, that will show me how the list of objects can be laid out. Let's press tab one more time.
List view, title text label 10.25. 0.25 inch, 1.25 inch, 0 degrees
So
braille table, NUEB.
You get a lot of information here again, and if we hear that we're getting some coordinates, we hear that this is a text label, and it specifically says text label 1, and it is currently just the word title. By default, that is going to be your first object. Now, what I can do is I can easily manipulate this by tabbing. After every object, you will have the ability to change the parameters or mess with that object by tabbing to the Open Context Menu option. There is also a shortcut of Alt-O that you could hit when you're focused on a particular object to edit it. But let's edit this text label. So I'm going to tab.
Open Context Menu button.
We hear the Open Context Menu button, and I'm going to press Enter, and this will open the context menu for this title text label, which is my first object, my first label.
Text and position, computer.
So again, right now we have an option to change the text in position. If we down arrow, we can change the kind of the rotation and all sorts of things. But if I press enter here on text and position,
Enter. Leaving menus. List view. Title text label 10.25.
what happens
0.25.
is
Select contents braille characters. 5 lines. 1 edit. Type in text. Alt.
I am currently making a text label and I have 5 braille characters in here, and it is the word title. Now, let's just say I want to change this. I can use either the computer input or braille input to create braille labels. There is an inbuilt braille translator in TactileView. So if I don't know braille, that's okay. If I type the word title, or in this case, I'm going to get rid of what's here and just type in intro shapes.
Contents braille characters 12 shapes.
We hear that we have intro shapes, and that takes up 12 braille characters, right?
Select
So again, if I
braille characters 12 lines. 1 edit. Type in text. Alt plus shapes. Intro.
I have the word intro and shapes here, it says it takes up 12 characters. And again, I could change if I tab
Select braille table for
the
this
braille
text label.
table.
Box. Main table MUEBG2.
Is currently set to English UEB G2, which is contracted, grade 2. I can change this in settings. If you have a user that is unfamiliar with UEB contracted and you want to make it grade 1, or you want to use US grade 2, or you can set that to be whatever you'd like it to be. The bottom line here is your user does not, I mean, your creator of this tactile graphic does not have to be braille knowledgeable to, to put in a label. Now, what I can do if I tab again,
Change default braille table.
I can change the table, I can add characters, but if I tab one more time,
Distance to left edge inch edit 0.25. Type in text.
we hear that right now, this label is 0.25 inches from the left edge of my piece of paper. So again, right away, I could move this over. I could, let's just say I want to make it 3.5 inches from the left edge more. And you could straight up, you can actually just center this, but let's just move this a little bit to the right. So I'm just going to type in 3.5, right? So again, 3.5 inches from the left edge. I'm going to have
5 distance to top edge.
my word intro shapes. Now, if I tab again, I have the distance to the top edge of my piece of paper, and currently that's set to
distance to top edge inch edit 0.25.
0.25. So again, very much at the top edge of that paper, right? And I if I don't want to center this, I can manually place it a certain amount of inches from the left or right. You can set word wrapping, because certainly if the longer your braille label is, 2 words in braille could take up multiple inches, 3-4 inches, depending on the words. You may want to wrap that content, and these are settings that we have here as well. So if I tab again,
Word wrap length between 10 and 250.
this would be your word wrap length. How long, do you want your characters to be before they have to wrap, depending on the setting you have. I'm going to tab again.
Just word wrap length to fit.
You can fit this to be in certain designs. Tab one more time.
OK button.
And here's our OK button.
Space. Tactile view 1. List of label.
So at this point, I've now got a title text object, which is my first text object, and it is going to be a 1/4 inch from the top of my piece of paper, and I moved it over toward the right. Now, what I want to do, if I want to add another option here, I'm going to press escape, get out of this list of objects, and come back into my just sort of canvas area. If I want to, the menu bars are fully accessible here as well. So if I press Alt and bring up the menu bar,
document with
we hear things like File, Design, Edit, and I'm just moving right through these. And eventually I will get to Drawing Tools.
Filter, portal of crafts, Drawing Tools, T.
And we hear that it says T. So again, Drawing Tools can quickly be entered by coming into the menu bar. We hear the shortcut is T. Alternatively, if I'm just in my sort of canvas area, if I press Alt and T simultaneously, I will bring up my drawing tools. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to press Alt T.
Alt T, Drawing Tools menu, menu-driven design, Control plus L.
And we hear right away that our menu-driven design option is here. That was where we went to set that the parameters of our first label, that title label, Control L. But if I come down here in the drawing tools area, I have some preset templates or shapes or things I can do with my canvas. And I want to add a square to this tactile graphic. So I'm going to press my down arrow.
Select the text shape, retouching, draw straight line, draw square / rectangle line thickness 1. Transparent.
And we hear
W.
that there is an option here that will say draw square / rectangle with a line thickness of 1 and sort of a default square. This has a shortcut as well of W. So if I want to draw lots of squares, if I know I'm making squares all the time, I could press Alt-T followed by W, and I would immediately be into where I'm going to put in a square. Now I want to press Enter here so that we're going to fill in the parameters for our square. Let's press Enter.
Enter menu bar to navigate. Press left or right arrow. Leave
All
menus,
right.
Size and position.
Now,
Square slash
this is where we set the size and position for our square. So again, I found the square option in the menu. I press Enter. Now I need to set what is that square going to be? Where is it going to be on my page?
Position of the upper left
So,
corner, distance to left edge inch edit.
Right now, the position from the upper kind of corner to the left edge of my paper, the top of that square to the left edge is 1 inch. I could change this, but let's leave it at 1.
Position of the upper left corner, distance to top edge inch edit 2.00.
Right now, this is set to be 2 inches from the top of my page. So again, the top left corner of the square is 1 inch from the left edge of my paper, and it is 2 inches from the top edge of my paper. And I'm tabbing through these options. Let's press tab again.
Size enlarge / reduce ratio between width and height will remain the same. Radio button checked.
This is where, if I'm making a square, certainly the height and the width of my square will be the same. That's what a square is. It's equidistant sides. If I change this and I want to make a rectangle, then I would set a height and width that are independent of each other. In the next option here, if I tab,
size width inch edit 1.
The width here is currently set to 1.0. If I change this to 2, that would also make the height 2, because in the previous option, I set them to be the same. If I wanted them different, I could set an independent width and height. Again, the difference between just a equidistant square with equal sides and a rectangle. Let's make this a 2-inch wide and high square. So I'm just going to type in a 2 and press tab.
2. Size height inch edit 2.0.
And you'll see that because I set the width to 2, the height is now also set to 2. So again, we've come in, we've been able to see what the distance is from the top edge of our paper, from the left edge of our paper, as well as the height or width of this square. If I tab again,
OK button,
I'm just going to press Enter on the OK button.
Enter.
And now I've added a square into my tactile graphic. So I currently have a text label and I have a square. If I press Control plus L, remember that's how we get into our menu driven design. In that list, I will now see 2 objects. Let's just do that quickly. So Control L.
Control L, list of labels and objects, dialog. After selection of a label.
So I've pressed Control L and I'm brought into this dialog. If I tab to the list,
list view 1 square / rectangle 1.0 2.0 inch 2.0 x 2.0 inch 0 degrees 2 of 2.
We hear that my square is in here and it's 2 of 2. If I push my up arrow, I would see the title being the first text label.
Intro S text label 1.
And that's listed as text label 1, intro S, which is my intro shapes, being the words that I used for that label. So again, you start to understand that each element, each object is going to be listed here separately. And a screen reader user can add these different elements. Now, one more thing I want to do, I want to add a new text label to the right of that square that says square. It's very, very telling. I could do it right from here, or I can come back into my tools menu. So let's just press escape.
TactileView 1.
And let's go back into our tools menu, our drawing tools. So Alt-T.
Alt-T, drawing tools menu.
And in here, again, I have lots of different options.
Add, draw letter, draw mem, add text.
But one of them, and again, if I come up, I have options like
text label, math input.
add text label, math input. So again, that would be if you wanted to do math, and Andrew will be talking a bit about math, or as he says, maths in a moment. I'm going to come up again.
Add text label, Braille keyboard input, P.
If we want to add a text label using the Braille keyboard, like Perky Duck, right? Like being able to actually use our home row as Braille keys, we can certainly do that if we're Braille knowledgeable. I could add the label this way, or if I press up arrow again, I'm in the tools menu, I'm just down toward the bottom, but I'm up arrowing instead of down arrowing through all those options. If I up arrow one more time,
add text label, computer keyboard input,
U is going to be the shortcut to quickly add a text label using the computer keyboard. So again, to quickly do that, I could press Alt and T to get into the drawing tools, followed by the letter U, where I would then be placed into this
Enter.
dialog
Leaving menus. Add text label dialog. Contents Braille characters. 1 line.
where I'm placed into the edit box, and I'm just going to write the word square.
Contents Braille characters. 6 lines. 1.
Okay. 6 characters. SQUAR sign E. But remember, the dot 6 takes up a character, so you're going to be at 6 characters for this with contracted Braille. If I press tab,
Square. Add more text labels after.
we can add another label after this if we want to. There's a checkbox for this, but let's just tab over to the distance.
Select Braille tape. Change the. Add a character. Distance to left edge inch edit. 1.00.
All right. Distance from the left, the distance from the left edge is 1.0. Unless I want this to be directly below my square, I'm going to start to get things put on top of each other. I don't want the distance to be 1 inch. I want this to be to the right of my square. If my square is 2 inches wide and is set to be 1 inch off the left margins, this label needs to be at least 3 inches from the left edge. So let's set it to 3.5.
3, 5.
Okay.
Distance to left edge inch edit. 3.5.
And now 3.5 inches from the left edge. I'm going to tab again.
Distance to top edge inch edit. 1.00.
1 inch from the top is fine. I might drop it down a little bit just so that we don't want it to run into our intro shapes title that we had set. And again, to emboss this would really be to give me a sense of exactly where it was based on my embosser and the dots per inch that my embosser can handle and where this is on my paper size. But let's just set this from the top edge. Let's put it at 1.5. So I'm just going to type in 1.5. And now again, 3.5 inches from the left, 1.5 inches from the top. So to the right of that 2 inch square is going to be this label. Let's press tab.
5. Word wrap length between
Again,
10 and
we
2.
can set the word wrap, and there's some
Adjust the
options here
OK
for this, but I'm just going to press Alt-O or tab to my OK button and press Enter.
Enter. TactileView 1.
Now, if I were, so I'm back in my TactileView sort of the graphic, and you should see, and Andy, you can confirm this, or Sully or Jordan, that at this point, the word square should be to the right of my square. And I can validate this by embossing it for now, but I certainly could, if I needed to, if I were to emboss this and something was over the top of something else, or there was, maybe I wanted it below the square, I would come in and say, gosh, I need to put it back at 1 inch from the left and 4 inches from the top, which would be right below that 3 inch boundary of the bottom boundary of my square. So you do have to use some visualizations, if you will, of where you're putting things on the page. But as Jordan said, this product is it's accessible to a screen reader user. Certainly, you have to have a good kind of grasp of where you're putting things and definitely have a good grasp of your screen reader. But I'm using JAWS here, and as a blind person, I can independently start to build tactile graphics. And certainly I could manipulate existing graphics and do different things. This was just more a sense of getting a quick intro as to the menu-driven capabilities of TactileView. TactileView was built by a blind person, Jaap Breeder, who is blind from Amsterdam. And Jaap, as a blind person, developed this so that anyone else who is blind would have the ability to create and work with tactile graphics. And certainly, of anything out there, it is the most accessible platform to do it. And I won't say that 100% of what you can do is accessible, but I'd say well into the 90s something percent of what you're able to do is doable and is something that we're very proud of. With that, unless there is something you want to point out. Yeah.
It is not currently in contracted Braille, even though the Braille table noted that it was in grade 2.
Okay, that's probably because I didn't set it from my actual template settings in the settings menu. So I may not have applied it. But that might be something I need to look at, because I thought I had it in there, but I'll have to look. And again, that'd be something too, where when I emboss this, I would say, what the heck? This is not in contracted Braille, even though I thought it was. And I believe that is because I need to change my default table in the settings menu. But it's a great thing to point out. And that's something that I would not know until I emboss. And that is certainly a limitation.
Is that similar to changing settings in Duxbury in the document versus the general settings?
Exactly. Perfect. Because you have global settings and then you have your kind of document settings, and you're absolutely correct. And so, and those are little things, yeah, as you start to kind of the minutia of using the software, just knowing where certain things are locating. But it's great, and until we get some future integration with more of a real-time output, right now I wouldn't know that as is, being a totally blind user until I emboss this and said, wait a minute, I want that square to be square, or the SH in shapes to be SH instead of SH. So it's a good one to see, and I'm glad it came up because you certainly would want to fix that, and that would be done in our menu bar. Andrew, I'm going to toss it over to you to talk a bit about, again, from the sighted side of things, and just as Sully, who's with us. I always credit Sully for the light dependent term, but for somebody who is light dependent now, so the owner of that phrase is with us. So um, kind of have you run through what the process would be to import a picture and kind of clean it up, and what you could do from the perspective of touch up and things like that.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Peter.
Thanks.
Just to touch base on a bit on that contracted braille and uncontracted braille, there is an option, as Peter mentioned, in the toolbar that allows you to quickly select the braille table. So there is this option that you can quickly select which LibLouis braille table you prefer. So if it was set to grade 1, then of course you can come into this option and select your correct braille table. And Peter, I think you're still
I
sharing
can't
your
get rid
screen,
of
right?
this. Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to get rid of it. Did it go away?
Oh, okay.
Sorry. It's over the top of you. I couldn't get rid of
Let
the
me
screen share.
try again.
All right, let's see.
Can you unshare?
I'm trying. You stepped on my screen share and then I couldn't get rid of mine. Did it go away?
No, it's still
Sweet.
showing.
I like this. Hold on.
I will try and share mine because I think you can share multiple screens, but I think we'll.
Yeah, you're good.
Is that good?
I hope mine's
Okay.
done.
Yep.
Otherwise, I'll just keep talking on you. Just let me know.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, there's this option that's in the toolbar, which is braille tables. So just to rephrase that, if you do find that your tables are all set to uncontracted or contracted and you want to reverse it, then selecting this option will open up your braille table dialog. And from there, you can select all the various LibLouis braille tables that are available. And that will respect all the current labels that you have displayed on your canvas. But I'm going to quickly show you a way of importing files. And as Jordan said on the slides, there's multiple files that you can bring into TactileView. So from JPEG to PNG to SVG, there's multiple different ways and file types that you can bring in. And I'm going to give you an example of one particular file. And make it more, say, complex. Now, of course, ideally, when you're looking at tactile graphics, you can search the web and try to find line drawings of that particular image. And of course, that is really helpful because it cuts out all the unnecessary filters that you need to apply. But in one case where you may not have the time, or maybe there's a graphic that you need to convert to that tactile graphic and it's not available as a line drawing, I'm going to show you how you can use some of the fantastic filters within TactileView. So I've got my canvas here and I've already put in a title as dolphins, and you can see it's using and respecting the contracted braille table. And I'm going to import an image. Again, I can use my kind of quick toolbar to the left, or if you like, you can use the file options. And in file, I have the option of import image from file. On selecting that option, it will then take me to like a file management system. So I can then look for the file that I've just downloaded. In my case, it's taken me to the previous folder that I've prepared earlier. And I've got two files here. I've got a butterfly JPEG and I've got a dolphin JPEG. But this session is about dolphins. So I'm going to select dolphin. And I'm then, once I've selected, position where I need it to go. So I can drag this image in various different places. I can enlarge the image. So as I grab like the corners of the box, I can make the image bigger. And again, I can just increase that size to fill my whole canvas. So at the moment, this would not make a great tactile graphic because I've got a dolphin jumping out of a sea. with blue background. So the sea is kind of like a darker blue, and then it's the blue sky, and then of course the dolphin color. So if I change this into a tactile, or emboss this, it's not going to be great. And another fantastic option within TactileView is dot view. So there's two different design or views that you can have. So at the moment, I'm currently in line view. Line view allows me to see how it would be in print. But if I want to see how this would be embossed, the option next to this is a dot view. So as I select dot view, here I'm just going to see loads and loads of random dots because it doesn't make sense. And what's great is that the dot view respects the resolution of the embosser. And I'll come back to this once I start changing or adding the filters here. So something like this as a dolphin, the best filter that I could potentially use is convert to a line drawing. You could, of course, choose convert to black and white and then choose line drawing. There's various different filters that are available under filters, or you can apply the filters that are from the left toolbar. I'm going to choose convert to line drawing. Upon doing that, I get a kind of a scroll option or scroll bar that allows me to increase or decrease the detection of the lines. So as I kind of start to decrease, what will happen is you'll start to see the dolphin come into shape, and you'll notice that it's just trying to grab the outline. So I'm currently set to sort of 17. And probably about 17 is about right here. I'm actually getting the shape of the dolphin. But of course, I need to then touch this up a little bit more because I have the border, a square border of the dolphin, which is grabbing it from the JPEG. And I've got some kind of some dots that are going to show from the sea. So I can then start to touch this up by using the eraser option here. And the eraser option, you can then adjust the different sizes and different shapes. But as I start to tidy this graphic up now, as I remove some of this unnecessary kind of lines that I don't want to be displayed tactically, I start to touch this up a bit more. And again, just really quickly, just erasing some of this unnecessary noise here from the line drawing. I can also, at this point, have a look at this in the dot view. So as I'm now going into the dot view, you can now see how this is potentially going to be embossed. And as I mentioned, it's going to respect the dots per inch for your particular embosser. So if I had an index embosser or had a page blaster embosser, it respects the resolution that can emboss it. And again, at this point, I can start to erase the unnecessary dots here. And if I need to, I can touch those dots up by adding some dots into it even as well if I feel that there's some missing pieces. I'm not going to spend too much time because I've got a lot of other stuff to do to show you, but you can also do textures as well. So there's other things that you can apply. So when we look at different shading areas, if I wanted to have the sea in position here, then potentially I could then add that sea and add textures to it so that it could be easily differentiated between the dolphin and of course the sea. Again, I can put in different labels. I can select my labels from my label options here. And as Peter mentioned, that you can also put in Braille labels by keyboard, or you can use your kind of Perky Duck by Braille keyboard input. I'm just going to use just my keyboard entry. And here I'm just going to type in a quick label here, which is fin. Put in the fin there, and again, it's contracted Braille, so I've got the IN sign. If you then want to, you can then start to use lines to help identify where that location is. Again, I'll leave it for now as it's just a quick demo to show you. So let's say I'm happy with this dolphin. Of course, I'll probably spend a bit more time just to tidy it up. But let's say I'm happy with this. I now want to save it or bring this into Duxbury. And that's what's great about TactileView. It really seamlessly works well with Duxbury. So perhaps you've got a paragraph where you're writing about dolphins. Maybe there's questions that you want to ask your students about dolphins and give them an example of what a dolphin looks like. You can actually import those images, those graphics into Duxbury. So when you emboss through Duxbury, it will not just emboss the Braille literacy, but it will also emboss your tactile graphics as well. So I'll quickly show you how that can be done. So I'm going to save this first of all. So File, Save As, and I'll be then given some options as to what I'm going to call this. And I'm going to call this, let's call this straight away, Dolphin. And the proprietary file type is BPX. I think there was a slight mistake on the slide. I think it was BCX, but it's actually BPX is the proprietary file type for TactileView. No idea what that means. It's just a file type that probably was just made up. So it's BPX is the proprietary file type. I'm going to choose Save. Now, once you save it, you'll then get asked other questions about the author name, the author email address, because you can also share your tactile graphics to the community. As we mentioned earlier on the slides, that the TactileView has an extensive catalog of existing graphics that's been created by you as users. So you can share this graphic. What we do ask is for the author's name, the email address, and then of course you can choose Add to Catalog. Once you do that, though, it doesn't mean it's going to be added. It does get filtered. It does get monitored. So what happens is it gets sent to our servers, and of course we need to review that before it's allowed to be posted. But in any case, you can upload your own content to the catalog. I'm going to ignore these and just choose Save Document Details. So now that's saved, I'm going to just switch over to my Duxbury program. And I've just typed in a few, a paragraph about bottlenose dolphins here. And I've also included below is a tactile graphic of a dolphin jumping out of the ocean. I now want to add my dolphin into my Duxbury file. So I'm currently working in a print environment within Duxbury. I'm going to choose Layout, choose Picture, and then choose Add. It then will open up a dialog box to ask me where I want to try to find the file, and the file that I want to add, which was, I think it was Tactile. That wasn't TactileView 2, was it? No, it was something else. Oh, Dolphin. That's what I call it. Dolphin, right? That's right. So I add Dolphin, and it will switch to TactileView, but then it will switch back to Duxbury. And here again, I've now inserted the dolphin, and I can then translate it. So I can choose File, Translate. That will then translate my whole document into Braille, and then I'll be able to emboss that as it's doing its translation. It's trying its best. Taking a bit of time.
Andrew, I noticed when you bring in the graphic dolphin and fin in your graphic, which you put the labels in, those weren't translated. So that's
correct. Yes, it's grabbing the print. Yeah. So it's grabbing the actual print. So what does happen at the moment? So even though we've used TactileView, and in TactileView we translated those with the LibLouis Braille tables. Once I do bring that into Duxbury, Duxbury actually overrides that. So Duxbury will actually take over the translation. Now, this is something that we are working with Duxbury to see if we can change that, because ideally we want to control the translation within TactileView. But nevertheless, if it's a user that's going to be reading in grade 1, then of course your grade 1 options or your uncontracted options would be selected in Duxbury, and then those labels would be in grade 1 as opposed to grade 2. So Duxbury has the kind of the overall say on what's being translated at this moment in time. But I'm showing the actual graphic now. It's through 2 pages because, of course, my tactile graphic is set to 11 by 11.5. So, of course, it's going to be created on the second page, of course. And that's really important to note, that your tactile graphic page or canvas size, your paper size, you need to make sure that it's the same size as what you have set within Duxbury, because otherwise it will fail to import. It will say something like the file is too large or too small, depending on what paper size that you have selected. So a real useful tip there is to make sure that your document size, your embosser size is set the same as what you've got selected in TactileView.
Andrew,
Right.
really quick, we have a question in the chat. After you import the graphic into Duxbury, can you move it around the page?
So once it's in Duxbury, okay, so what I could do is I can actually start to, if I press the enter a few times, I can start to force it down as I'm pressing enter. If I want to drag it, no, I think that you're limited on that. You'll probably have to then remove it and then insert it in the location again. So once I click on this image, what should happen is a tactile view should start to open, and it will bring up that image if I want to make necessary changes. So you could have a saved Duxbury file that has all of my images created, and it will open up. If I select it again, it will open up tactile view, and it will bring in that image again. So as I've opened this up, I'll just drag my screen over again. Here you have the dolphin again. So I can then make necessary changes here, save it, and those saves will change effect on that Duxbury file as well. So it's just a good way of interacting between existing graphics that you have already in your Duxbury file. You can then quickly change them if you need to. Okay, so that's my first demonstration of how to import an image file and of course explain the dot view briefly. I'll just quickly then go through the portal. So as we mentioned, there's a couple of portals that we have available within Tactile View. There is the catalog that will allow you to download existing tactile graphics that are already pre-made from tactile artists like yourself. And there's also the compose map. We'll just quickly choose to download and edit catalog here, and that will open up a internet dialog browser where I have access to over 3,509 designs to be exact. And here I can search by keywords. I can search by different categories as well. I'm going to search by, well, let's choose one of these categories. Let's choose the, let's choose youth category. There's 239 tactile graphics in there. And I'm going to choose here, there's different categories. Color sheets, there's 117. And because it's coming up to Easter, I'm going to choose the Easter Bunny. So I select the Easter Bunny. It gives me information about this, a description. So whoever's created this, it's they put a description as the Easter Bunny with a basket full of eggs. I'm going to download, and that now will grab the tactile graphic, and that will be placed in my tactile view canvas as presto. And here I can make necessary changes. So I've got Braille labels. It does include a catalog Braille label number, so you may want to remove that, delete that. Again, you can change all kinds of things to this graphic. So at this point, if you want to put in textures, you can put textures. But this is just a quick demonstration that you can now download those existing graphics. Great for just to get you started. You know, a foundation to a tactile graphic that you then want to evolve or adapt to it. So if it's, instead of trying to create it yourself, there may be some pre-made graphics that are available on that catalog. And again, this is the dot view. As I show the dot view, you'll be able to see how that will appear on your embosser. I'm going to open a second tactile view canvas, and again, I'm working with multiple tabs here, multiple graphics. So if you are working with several graphics, the great thing is you can just keep on applying for a new one, and you just have multiple tabs, and you can switch between those tabs. Let's go into the other portal, which is Composing Map. A great way of creating tactile maps is using this Compose Map options. Similar to the design catalog, when you click on Compose Map, it opens up a web dialog, and it opens up this software program called Root Tactile, which is part of Tactile View. I can then choose various different sizes here. So my paper size is currently set to A4. I can use the drop down arrow to change that. I can choose a different measurement systems. So metrics, if you prefer inches, we can go to select inches, and I'm going to do that as well. And then I can select the scope of the map. I have options such as world, continent, country, city, street, province. I'm going to choose country. And then I then have an option to choose what particular country you want. So again, it's a drop-down list. I've currently got United Kingdom. I'll keep it set to United Kingdom because that's where I'm based. And then I have additional information that I perhaps want to show. So here I can add more layers and more data. So I can show province borders, and these are a checkbox exercise. I can show province reference numbers, province capitals, or major cities. I'm going to choose my major cities, and then I'm going to click on the Generate Tactile Map option. That will then list all the kind of or highlight or give a dot on all the major cities at this point. If you then want to then add a index file or maybe just add labels, again, that's something that you can do. You can label them as A, B, and C and have a key that refers to what that major city is. But I'm happy at that. I'm going to then choose download map into TactileView and give that a few seconds or so, and that will then download into my canvas, which of course the size should well be, I think it was A4 that I selected. So as that opens up TactileView, oh, where are we? No, TactileView 4, there we have it there. So it's came in, and again, I can move this, I can resize this. This is currently in the dot view, of course, so I can change it back to my line view. But again, you can resize this, you can add additional labels, and of course, scale it to the size that you want.
Can you add a texture to the map after you import it?
Yes, you can add textures to maps. You can add textures to anything. So as long as you can detect it does depend on the state of the image, because if it's a bitmap, then of course you'd have to detect the shape. Okay, and again, there's some really useful tools that you can use on this toolbar here as detect shape. So as I choose my detect shape, if I choose that, it's gonna quickly detect the outline of that shape. And from here, I can then start adding texture styles. So I can then choose different textures from here. And maybe I want to have it as a, let's have lines, and choose OK. And then you can change the rotations and you can change the pixels to make it smaller, or you can make it further apart. So various different texture sizes that you can apply at this point. So here I've got the actual mainland of the United Kingdom set as textures, and so when I look at the dot view now, that will come through as well. So it's a great way of just quickly using those textures to your advantage to really differentiate the different shading areas. Okay, last piece quickly is about the math side of things. So I'm just going to open up a new canvas. And now what's really good about TactileView is that you can quickly create graphs. One of the pain points that I've seen in schools is preparing material for your students and getting those graphs quickly in the hands of the students. TactileView can really help you out here and help the student out, of course. So there's an option here to create math contents here. So as I click on the math contents, I've got various different options here. I have add custom graph equation editor. So TactileView has its own equation editor, and it works really well with MathType. If you have MathType installed, then you can copy those equations over and paste MathType over to TactileView. It's also compatible with Microsoft Word equation editor. So if you have got existing equations through Microsoft Word, simply copying those over and pasting them in will also allow you to translate that in the correct math braille as well. So of course, Nemeth braille or UEB, depending on your preference, you have that option. Of course, the other option is keyboard input. So you can just select the keyboard entry input here. As I select that, I can then input my Y formula, or I can use my examples. As I just to quickly show you here as an example, I will quickly create a graph. I may want to change the appearance of this as well. So there's various different, depending on your types of embosser, you can change your grid boxes to just show a dot, and you can then outline the thickness of your formula line to be a little bit more thicker. And again, you can change various different appearances of how this looks. And once I've changed that, I then want to change that to my bitmap. It should come through, and that's how my graphic will appear once I emboss it. And again, you can add additional labels to that if need be. So that's a really quick intro and a few demos there on the portal, creating some tactile graphics from importing images. I hope that's really helpful, and that leaves 5 minutes to, I guess, some questions.
So Andrew, we launched the poll question asking the audience to check what tools can be used to create a math equation when using TactileView. So math type, correct? Yes. And
Correct.
then
Yeah. Math type. Yeah.
Microsoft Word's equation editor is a yes.
Correct. Yes.
And then keyboard entry is a yes.
Correct.
Yes.
The TI-80 graphing calculator, yay or nay?
That's an
Nay.
A. No, we can't.
And I think I heard you say that an option should have been in here that TactileView also has its own equation editor, which you just demonstrated. So we would have had another option in there for the audience. Is that correct?
It is. It comes under the math type side of things, though, as well. So
Got it.
math type, if you have math type installed, it works
Got it.
really well with that, and that allows you to have the equation editor available.
Got it. And then Jordan, I know there were a couple of questions that were dropped into the chat. Do you want to throw those at Andy?
Yes. So is it correct that PDF graphics are not supported?
So is that for bringing in PDF graphics
Yes,
or
importing
exporting?
importing a PDF graphic.
Okay, so correct. But what you could do, so an alternative thing that you could do is you could use the snippet tool to copy that image. So you could open up the PDF, you can use snippet, copy it, and then you could paste it into TactileView. So it's quite versatile. It's flexible in that respect.
Just for those listening, the snippet keyboard shortcut is Windows Shift S, and that will pull up the snippet tool on your Windows system.
Right.
And then in Duxbury, what should the import filter be set to?
Sorry, say that question again, Jordan.
In Duxbury, what should the import filter be set to?
So Duxbury doesn't have an import filter.
It does for text and URLs, but it is not an image specific import filter. So I don't think that applies to bringing images into TactileView.
Correct.
Or into Duxbury.
Yeah.
Perfect. Alrighty. I am going. Can you kick off the screen for me, Andrew?
Yeah, I can.
Hopefully you do it
Perfect.
smoother than I do.
Alrighty. Can you guys see my screen now?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. So I have some resources up on here. Our support contacts, Page Blaster with TactileView. You can email support@aph.org or give us a call at our toll-free number. For more intense TactileView support, Humanware would be the best option, which their email is info@humanware.com, and they have their customer support line. There are also a number of tutorials for TactileView on YouTube from Humanware and from many alternate sources. So that is a great place to start. And as we know in this field, graphics are never perfect. APH offers a lot of things that you can add to these graphics, such as our sensible strips and our feel and peel stickers, carousel of textures, all those things that I'm assuming most of you are familiar with. But that is our partner webinar for today.
Jordan, can you just recap for the audience how they can get access to the software?
Yes. Perfect. So if a Page Blaster is purchased anytime after last Wednesday, April 2nd, it will automatically come with the APH Page Blaster. If you would like to purchase it and you don't have a Page Blaster, you can purchase it through Humanware for $595. If you are a former Page Blaster owner, previous to April 2nd, you will get a $100 discount, which you will need to contact our customer support for. So the total for that would be $495.
And of course, you can download the software
Yes.
and try the demonstration, right? Which I believe, is it available on APH's website as well as?
Yes, it is on our Page Blaster product page, and it is obviously available through Humanware as well. And as I said earlier, that demo mode is quite extensive compared to some other demo modes. You can explore all the features and be able to play with it and figure out if it's worth your district buying.
All right, Andy, what time is it over there in the UK? I trust you're not going out to play golf here in a little bit.
Unless it's night golf. It's 9 o'clock here where I am.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, that doesn't mean he doesn't want to. You know, he's thinking about golf.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate the overtime, and Peter,
Yes.
thank you very much for bringing your presence here this afternoon. I always appreciate it. So, and Jordan, congratulations
Jordan's
on your
first
Yeah, it's my first
foray.
webinar.
You
Yeah,
rocked
well
it.
done.
Rock and roll.
It's all downhill
I am
from
going to
here,
answer
Jordan.
one quick question. TactileView is only available. Each SPC is for one single computer use. It cannot be used on multiple computers.
Yep, it is a 1-to-1 machine to license ratio.
Perfect.
All right, folks.
Thank you all. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you, everyone.
Sully, Jordan,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Sully.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.